I'm gonna ask you something, check your picture.
Uh-oh.
I took it last night and made that for my mom's, which is right on the dermatology.
Do you want to step out and talk?
Is that one of your doctors?
We also got to check with.
I maybe one of my
Yeah, but she's
providers
not on
does
yet.
actually have that plate. But we parked in a different parking area.
This is at Del Taco drive-through. It was just up the street from the dermatology office. So I was like.
Did you see a drive? Did you see the driver?
No, you're right ahead of me.
Okay.
Drive-through.
I feel like it might be either Hafey or Shaq.
But I thought it was hilarious.
You still need
That's
back.
one of the germs.
I think it's safe to take from one of them.
Yeah. Well,
Can
they
you hear us, Jen?
they don't do the braces, right? They do the performance or whatever, the show.
Now they're trying to harass the Blue Jays. Come on, they
Still working out, but.
All right, go again. Take two.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Souther. I'd like to welcome you to the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting for January. I've asked Benjamin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to rise and join us for that.
pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so A1, call to order, and
Yes, Mr. Chair. Jared Souther,
President.
John White,
Present.
Rebecca Flannery,
Present.
Benjamin Johnson,
Present.
Kelly Orr, present. Victoria Luck, absent at this time. Ernest Birdwick,
Yo.
hi. And then our minute taker, Mary Ann Potts, can you hear us on Zoom?
Unmute. Yes, I can. Everything sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Council Liaison, Councilmember Megan Ebert,
Here.
and then Staff Liaison Jennifer Alvarez
Here.
and Abigail Mayorga. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum of the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting.
Thank you. Moving to item A2, an opportunity for public comment as we begin this meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our first item today is public comment. Members of the public may hear, observe, and provide public comment virtually by registering through the following link, which can be found on the reno.gov/meetings portal. And the link is as follows: https://links.gov/O P, It should be noted for those in attendance that comments are to be addressed to the board as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the agenda. The board may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee on Zoom, and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. All right, Mr. Chair, I have not received any in-person public comment. I know we have a couple presenters and a couple regulars. Good, nice to see y'all. And then if you are on Zoom, if you could please raise your hand at this time. There will also be a closing public comment if you wish to give public comment later on. All right, seeing none, Mr. Chair, no public comment tonight.
Thank you. So item A3 is approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting from January 16th. Seeking a motion for approval for our agenda.
Ben Johnson, motion for approval? Or-
And then a second?
Kelly, or second? Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then looking for approval for the minutes from December 19th meeting.
Ben Johnson, to motion to approve?
Thank you. And then a second.
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. At this point in time, then we have opportunity for council liaison report.
Councilmember Ebert, for the record, thank you to everybody for coming to our new location. Hopefully everybody found it okay. Looks like we might be missing a few people. Hopefully they didn't go to the library. Wanted to say that, we have some, changes with the, liaison staff that will be, working with the, NABs going forward. Abby was going to be, kind of switching to another team, but I think she's gonna keep.
I have an
helping
update.
us.
Yeah, I have a whole
Yeah,
slide. It's a lot.
yeah.
I have a whole slide deck, but yes.
Yeah, and we have a city council meeting next Wednesday. On that, we have kind of a heavy agenda for, a public hearing that begins at 6 p.m. Next Wednesday night. On it, there is, a public hearing on an appeal for, an apartment complex on, was it Lakeside? There's an appeal for a data center, out here in Ward 4 that has come through our NAB. I believe it was in the November Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting. And the third item, I think, was it another data center? I thought it was. Yeah, it's the third
The
item.
agenda is posted though, so it is on. there,
Yeah, but I just like to make sure everybody knows about that because it's outside of the usual kind of city council agenda. So if you have any interest in that, you can always watch the meetings over Zoom or on YouTube, or go to City Hall to watch or participate by providing public comment. And I also wanted to thank Ernest for coming today. He's one of our newest appointed NAB members. And yeah, thank you for coming. Great to see
Thank you for letting me join.
Yeah. All right, that's it for me for now. I'll probably remember something later.
It was the 7th Street. Lauren had a great 7th Street for the other appeal.
Okay.
Church lot, the apartments.
Apartment.
Yes.
28 lot.
Oh, yeah, Carter's here too. Yes, parking lot.
Yes,
Carter's.
yeah,
Yes.
Seventh Street abandonment,
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
right?
you.
To put
It's a
it-
28 lot, tenant, so
Okay,
it's a single family development.
okay, all right, I was thinking
Carter.
something else, yeah. Thank you.
And Lauren. Thanks, everyone. All together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So item A6, staff liaison report.
No, actually, I did think of something else. I'm very sorry. So, I had a meeting last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, with, a city engineer and the chief operating, officer for the Washoe County School District to talk about school safety zones in front of, Alice Smith, North Valleys High, Stead Elementary, and O'Brien Middle School. I've just been sharing the concerns that I've heard from parents and teachers and other faculty and staff at those schools, just expressing concern over the safety of the pickup and drop-off zones and the speed at which people drive through those areas, and just trying to look for ways to make those areas safer for our children. So it was Mr. Searcy from the Washoe County School District. He is going to get safe routes to school out to assess these different locations. And hopefully come up with some great solutions to slow people down in these areas. Unfortunately, it's not areas where we can put speed bumps due to access that firefighters need to have. They can't really do fire trucks over speed bumps, but there's probably some other things they could do. And another update is there was a Washoe County School District bus stop on Military Road. It was on the west side of Military Road, kind of across from Tulier Street. That was a bus stop that was always of particular concern for me. Seeing kids run across Military Road in between big rigs and commuter vehicles to get to that bus stop. I shared that information with Mr. Searcy, and that bus stop is going to be moved. So I don't know where that new location is, but it will be a safer location for kids that were getting that bus at that location. And there will be some other changes made to Stead and O'Brien's drop-off zones now, but the other schools, so Alice Smith and North Hills, is going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more assessment to kind of come up with some solutions for traffic calming in those areas. So just want to give an update. There's been a lot of concern around those areas. So just wanted to let people know that we're kind of moving things forward there. And then also on Moya, I've met with city engineers and our new city manager to discuss all the trucks and trailers that are frequently parked or just kind of left on Moya Street, blocking bike lanes and just park there for extended lengths of time. And the city engineer is working on solutions for keeping that area clear of trucks and trailers that are just kind of stored there for long periods of time. So don't have an answer on what that solution is going to be yet, but we will hear something back from the city engineers in February. So hopefully next meeting we'll have some solutions for that, so that area won't look like a parking lot anymore. So just wanted to share those updates. I don't know if anyone has any questions about any of that.
Thank you so much. All right, Sabica.
I'm gonna use all our new tech. But I am scared to. Okay. All right, Abigail Mayorga, Community Liaison for the record, with my staff liaison report. So next slide, please. Perfect. I wanted to give a couple updates on our board membership for the Ward 4 NAB, as well as some staff liaison updates. But first, I obviously want to say thank you everyone for being here. A special shout out to the Stead Airport for giving us this space at no cost. So truly marvelous for them to come to the table for the Ward 4 community. The only thing that I do want to let everyone know is that bathroom cleaning, let's just keep the area clean as much as possible. So Councilmember Ebert doesn't have to pay from her discretionary for the cleaning fee, please, please, please. Additionally, we do have a space up until about 8-ish, so we're able to clean up and do the things that we typically do. But the Zoom portion is always available for our participants as well. The bathrooms are on this other side of this wall. There are stairs and there is an elevator too. So we have some signage that's hopefully helping navigate this new location for some, but always open to recommendations. But again, thank you to the Stead Airport staff for keeping this open for us for after hours. The first thing I want to note that Councilwoman Ebert appointed 2 new NAB members, Kelsey Meno and Larissa. Can I say your last name? Yeah. Well, Larissa's not here. You're Kelsey. This is Kelsey. This is Kelsey Meno here. Larissa is typically here with her husband, but she's not here today. So hopefully we'll. Oh, there she is. Yay. So they will be getting some new onboarding as part of our new process. I know Jenica Finnegan gave some updates a while back when we were discussing the NAB resolution. So all of our new members will be experiencing onboarding. For Kelly and Ernest, who kind of missed the mark like a little bit, we'll definitely offer that opportunity for you guys as well. So we'll just go over the NAB member handbook, things you guys can expect, but these 2 will definitely be on the agenda next month and we'll be counting for quorum. So very excited. With these 2 new appointments, we do have 9 members total. So we have 2 member vacancies and 2 alternate vacancies. So As we begin to get a fuller board, one thing that we will be implementing similar to the city council and council rules are the 3-minute turns per each to ensure that everyone gets equitable time and we're staying on track for the agenda. So I have a little sheet with everyone's name, the item that we're on, and then the turns. And we have our timer here as well, so we'll make sure to get with the chair and kind of keep things moving. But that will allow us to stay on track, similar to council. So just following some of those rules. And then staff liaison updates. So last month, we had a new staff member come and kind of shadow for a little bit. She is no longer with the city of Reno. So now we have divvied up our staff the liaisons. So Jen and I are the 2 liaisons now moving forward. I know you used to have Tyler too, but Tyler has transitioned on. In order, now that I'm senior liaison and all my friends have left, I am helping the new NABs, so Ward 6, Ward 1, because it is a brand new NAB, and even Ward 3 at this point, get situated and set up. Ward 6 is a brand new NAB. They know. I don't know what they know, so we'll figure it out. We're barely figuring out dates, times, and locations. So I will be helping assist get that NAB nice and strong like Ward 4, Jen like with Ward 2. So hopefully I'll still be seeing you at some points, but Jen will be the point of contact moving forward. And you know, you guys saw her in November and we'll continue to see her. But I am super thankful to every single one of you, to the Ward 4 community, to Councilmember Ebert, for being on this journey together. I remember my first NAB and I was very, very scared. And now I'm very, very happy all the time. So yeah, just thank you guys. Oh, sorry. But I'm still be here. So it's only us 2 now. So we will definitely be around, as well as hopefully an intern, if that is allowed. Great. Next slide, please. Oh, also, now that we have this new tech, I think it's working. I will ask that the presenters and public commenters please come up to the podium. We have this mic, we have the sound system. So when you are here giving a presentation or providing public comment, please come up to the podium. I want to ensure that our Zoom participants are able to hear, because I know that has been a difficulty or a challenge at different locations. So please make sure you come up here, state your name, and like I said, we have your timer. But moving forward, City of Reno engagement opportunities. So it is MLK weekend this weekend. There is a City of Reno hosted event in partnership with an interfaith organization association for the 39th annual Martin Luther King Memorial Service. And this is free to the public. It is January 19th at 4 p.m. at McKinley Arts and Culture Center. So if you're interested, I encourage you all to stop by. Next slide. Additionally, the senior winter games are now live, so registration is open. Councilmember Ebert is the staff liaison to the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, so she's well aware of all the things that are happening. But if you are a senior or know seniors or would like just to kind of hang out and see what it's all about, registration is open, and that will be going from February 3rd to the 14th. Community champions. I know we've had community champions come to the Ward 4 NAB, so I'm just revisiting this and telling everyone what it is about, especially for our new NAB members and those who haven't been here before. But this is an opportunity to recognize individuals in the community who are doing work that maybe people aren't seeing. So this is a great opportunity to recognize those individuals. If and when we get submissions, we bring them to the NAB. You guys see the applications. We get to know them and the work that they're doing, and kind of recognize them in a cute little special way. So hopefully we get a couple more as the months progress. But just a reminder. Great newsletter. Again, as we have seen, we have 6 wards officially, and it's been a couple months, and this really doesn't impact Ward 4, but more of a plug. If you haven't already, please sign up for the Ward 4 newsletter. Updates go through this to your email regarding the NAB location changes, the agenda, updates from Councilmember Ebert. So a couple of different things. If you need help signing up, we're more than happy to assist after the NAB, but you can also find it at the City of Reno website, and you just look up newsletters and you'll go to the Ward 4 one. So you'll get those periodically from us. Reno Direct, potholes. Did you guys see the pothole meme? No, anyone
Yes.
follow? Yes, potholes. Any issues that you're kind of facing or need assistance with? I know Ward 4 is very special in the fact that there's county pockets and City of Reno pockets, and you don't know which one it is. But Reno Direct is that resource to help you. So you can submit online and or call Monday through Friday. So, and again, if you need assistance submitting those, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is on the agenda, and we're always happy to help. Thanks. City of Reno Planning Commission. So this is just a reminder that they typically meet the first and third Wednesday at City Hall. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more of the schedule, the staff liaison contact is there. Great. Same with NDOT, the Nevada Department of Transportation. So the US 395 project manager, Robert Bruman is no longer with NDOT. So Councilmember Ebert has been meeting with the new replacements. So hopefully we'll be getting them sometime soon. But yes, their public meeting calendar is there. Any updates regarding 395, please visit their website. They have a specific website for their 395 and all of North Valley's projects. So it's a good resource to stay up to date. Go ahead.
So sorry. I also met with NDOT last week to talk about the widening project on the 395, to meet with the new representative, but also to ask about artwork for the new development there, for the new construction. There will be artwork included. It will mostly be around the on-ramp and off-ramp areas where it's like you're driving slower to appreciate it more. It's gonna incorporate some of the migratory birds that come through on Swan Lake, Silver Lake area. And then the areas where you should be driving faster on the freeway, it'll be like aspen tree trunks. This artwork was chosen back in 2019, so unfortunately we didn't really get an opportunity to weigh in on that. But I've asked them that if there's any opportunity in the future for the NAB to engage in any art selection, that they come out to the NAB meetings. And I also asked them to come out and give a presentation to show everyone what the artwork is gonna look like on these new build outs. So, yeah.
RTC, so they obviously also meet typically, I think once a month. So the public meeting calendar, contact form, and maps and schedules for bus routes, because I know that's very important here in this location specifically. But their general RTC phone number is there. Next slide, please. Next meeting, so the next City of Reno Planning Commission meeting is February 5th, 6 p.m. Reno City Hall. There is a virtual option as well. And then Nevada Department of Transportation, when I did check for our slides, they hadn't posted yet. So, but if you visit the website and the public meeting calendar, it should have things up to date. Additionally, these meetings go on YouTube for Planning Commission and NDOT. So you could always look up Nevada Department of Transportation meeting and they should be showing up. RTC meets the January 17th, which I think is tomorrow. So they meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Terminal Way. Great room. And again, these are also recorded. So if you go to the RTC website, you can watch the video and or go over the meeting materials. Next slide, please. Okay. RTC sent out today a reminder regarding North Valley's North Virginia Street Capacity Project. And this is specifically Panther Drive to Stead Boulevard. They will be having a community meeting Thursday, January 30th at O'Brien Middle School. I'm sure everyone knows where it's at, but I just copy pasted it. From 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. with a brief presentation at 6 p.m. So this is open to the public. I encourage everyone to attend, and meeting materials again are posted online, northvalleyimprovements.com. I got this notification through their newsletter sign up. We got it through our NABS email. So if you have not signed up for the newsletter through RTC, please do. Again, another resource. So they will be sending these types of notices. I want to make sure you guys don't miss it just because I didn't see my email or that email today. So make sure you guys sign up, and we're again happy to help in assisting those signups. Next slide, please. And I think that is it for me. So I think we have selection of chair up next. Thank
And
you.
if I could add one extra comment, Jennifer Alvarez for the record. If you go to the website, you can also submit public comment.
Oh, yes.
So that's a great piece to have your voice heard.
All right, at this point in time, we're moving to our business and item B1, an opportunity to select our new Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board Chair for 2025.
And Mr. Chair, these commitments are for 1 year unless you term out and or resign. So chair and vice chair are 1 year terms. So we would do it again in January.
All right, seeking nominations or discussion.
I don't mind doing it if anyone else is.
If you could state your name, please.
Yeah, Ben Johnson for the record, but I don't think I can nominate myself. I I can?
Rebecca
Okay.
Flannery, for the record, I nominate Ben Johnson.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can we get a second?
Ernie Burke, I'll second.
Ernest Ferdwick, second.
All right. Any discussion about any other nominations, just in case? Seeing none, all in favor of nominating Benjamin? To-
Aye. Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, thank you, congratulations.
Yay.
And then, Mr. Chair, I want to note that Victoria Luck is also present.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. Sorry, my minute taker wanted me to let her know, so I'm trying to be better.
Yes, thank you. Item B2, selection for our vice chair for 2025.
Kelly, for the record, I'd like to nominate myself as vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second, Victoria Luck, for the record.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Any opposed?
Great. So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, we'll have you finish out the meeting, and then next month we will have the new nominees. And then we'll also connect if you feel like you need additional training prior to the meeting. Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. All right, so now we have an opportunity to hear a quarterly update from the Reno Police Department. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Carney. I am the watch commander for swing shift, Wednesday through Saturday. No worries. All right, we'll start with the slide presentation, just kind of a brief update, something the new chief wanted us to kind of go over with you guys previously. So I was actually in this ward about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I switched sides of the schedule. Now I'm back, but this is going to be a new addition for the NAB meetings, kind of moving forward, a different presentation style. We used to kind of go over the stats, which you guys all have access to, which I always felt was not really in the best interest of anybody here. You guys can all read, and if you have questions, by all means, please ask me, and we can go over those. But we'll start with the update for us. Next slide, please. All right, so our graduations, academy, and early hires in December 3rd of 2024, we had 18 officers graduate the Northern Nevada Law Enforcement Academy. We had an additional 3 lateral officers hired in December, giving us a total of 21. In 2022, RPD started an early hire program to bring officers into the department and begin training them on administrative tasks prior to the academy. We had 23 recruits in this program who began the academy January 6th. This is something new for us. What we found is as we started offering people jobs, we were giving them conditional offers, but they weren't actually getting a job. They weren't being paid. So in this interim time of, hey, you're being offered a job, great, you've been hired, congratulations, we can't wait to have you on board. The bills keep coming. And so what was happening is we were losing good recruits because they needed to pay the bills, and they would find a job and then they would end up staying there. So Commander Sean Garlock actually started this program back then. So this has been an awesome kind of tool for us to retain good folks. It also has given us, we've seen an increase in our academy graduate rates. And then it actually has improved some of our trainees when they come out and start actually hitting the field. Next slide, please. Chief Nance brought this deeds zones, the directed engagement, enforcement, and deployment strategies zone. My goodness, we just call it deeds, and so I always forget what it actually stands for. This is the deed zone. What we're doing, the intent here is to select different areas within the city of Reno and kind of deploy resources with intent. We don't just kind of go around and just see whatever pops up. We look at different hotspots, things like that. So our previous 3 deeds zones were the East 4th Street corridor, Paradise Park in Northeast Reno, and then Meadowood Mall. When we hit Meadowood Mall, we chose Meadowood Mall specifically around kind of Thanksgiving and Christmas time because we wanted to hit those Black Friday sales when we always see an increase in not only theft from stores, but theft from vehicles. So all the units patrol as well. Patrol not as much just because we are responsible for responding to calls for service for the city, but we would have our plainclothes units, our traffic division, our detectives, and everybody kind of go into those zones and see what they could do to kind of prevent crime and also respond to things like that, provide education opportunities, things of that nature to try to decrease some of the calls for service that we were getting and also decrease the rate of crime that we were seeing in those areas. Next slide, please. Our current zone is the Atlantis area. We try not to make it this, because this is kind of a new concept for us here. We've been kind of messing with it, with size wise and how long we've been staying in these zones. We typically stay in the zones for about 30 days. The first one we did, I think we did it for like 3 months, and it wasn't super great. It was kind of petered out, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then it kind of messed with some of the data that Chief was getting. So we've shortened it down to 1 month intervals. We hit the zone hard. We see kind of what we have going on, different hotspots, stuff like that in that area. Again, everybody's involved in it between our regional narcotics unit, our human trafficking, traffic detectives, patrol. Yeah. Next slide, please. So update for the last 3 months of our traffic section. So roughly in the last 3 months, they issued 2,400 citations. We had 800 collisions within the city of Reno. Major injury traffic collisions, there were 13. Within the downtown deeds enforcement zones, they had 383 citizen contacts, 105 citations. So those 105 were probably counted within the citizen contacts. Just because they contact you doesn't mean you were getting a citation. It could have just been, hey, somebody came up and asked a question. We bring our motor division out. So we'll have a lot of times people will come up and just ask questions about the motorcycles. Kids will come up and they'll kind of sit on the bikes and stuff like that. Just kind of have some positive outreach for stuff like that. We had 7 special events. We had 7 dignitary visits as it was an election year. Those grants that they used, so grant funds come from other outside entities. It's not from the city of Reno. We used 230 hours worked to work pedestrian safety, click it or ticket, and DUI enforcement. They specific to the DUI grants, they worked 110 hours. They did 140 hours in the school zone enforcement and 576 hours of commercial vehicle enforcement, where they're actually looking at some of the commercial vehicle trucks. If you hit a certain gross vehicle weight, that will kick you in the commercial stuff, and they do safety checks. They have a program, and forgive me, I can't remember what the program is called, but they're actually able to look up, let's say DHL. They can look up DHL and see what their safety score is. And based on that safety score, kind of see where they're getting hit. So if their vehicles aren't safe, they can go, hey, we need to probably look at their brakes, or maybe their logs aren't good. Maybe their drivers are driving too much, too far, things like that. Those are all completely made up. I just picked DHL out of the air. Those are just some examples for you guys. Next slide, please. All right, so we have 2 new ordinances that are pending. Second reading is supposed to be coming up at the end of this month. You have any questions? Just kidding. No worries. So these are going to be offenses against public property. It's kind of working toward some of the blight that we've been kind of seeing. The homelessness has been an issue, and trying to deal with some of those. So they are proposing an amendment to offenses against public peace, with those ordinances repealed and being replaced by sitting, lying, sleeping, or camping on a public place, including but not limited to sidewalks, streets, alleys, sensitive areas, or within doorways prohibited. And then same thing kind of down a little bit below, adding loitering to reduce incidents such as street racing, sideshows, fights, narcotic sales, and all other criminal behavior, by establishing a clear process to mitigate these issues citywide. I know specifically up here in Ward 4, we did see some fairly heavy street racing that did kind of curtail last year. It wasn't as bad as it had been in previous years. Fortunately, we didn't see any of the sideshow takeovers that we saw within the city and a little bit further down south. We were seeing fairly large, really large gatherings. There was a small riot that erupted at 4th and Virginia Street that necessitated the use of tear gas to help disperse some of the riot goers. Those were causing some major issues. We were finding firearms, narcotics, there were shootings at some of those events. So those were actually a pretty big deal throughout the city, not just here in Ward 4. The street racers were actually even quite irritated and pissed off at the sideshow street takeovers, because they were like, those guys are a new level. We want nothing to do with them. We are not associated with them. Yes, we like to drive fast. Yes, we race. We recognize that we are kind of a problem also, but those guys are not, that's not us. So they were doing their best to separate themselves, saying, no, that's not us. We like cars. I don't know what they're doing. They're bad. Keep them over there. At any rate, so we'll see what happens with the second read with these new ordinances, and then as with anything else, anytime a new ordinance is rolled out, the police department, we typically have an education period where those that are going to be affected by the new law come out and let them know, hey, the law has changed. While yes, we could take enforcement action, we typically try to educate people before we just start taking enforcement action through citation or arrest. just seems to be a better access. And anybody would like to know, I mean, anybody who picks up the book of RMC or NRSs, and it's quite thick. I don't think I've never read it cover to cover because I'd still be reading. And so when things like that get changed, we want to make sure people know about it, and so we can take fair and equitable action as required. Next slide. All right, any questions on any stuff that I buzzed over? Sir.
John White, for the record. Last year, some of the reports were talking about a lot of people coming from out of town that are coming here to get involved, and they're the ones that are more of a problem than the locals. Is there any sort of organized group, the out of towners? Are they like a specific group that travel from city to city or place to place or anything like that stick together and do this sort of thing?
You're talking about like the sideshow takeovers, those types
Yeah,
of.
almost like
Yeah.
an organized gang of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah. So they identify as a car club, but they're fairly active on social media. They understand that we monitor social media as well. We've got several groups of people that are on top of it. We coordinate with the Nevada State Police or Nevada Highway Patrol, our counterparts in Sparks, Washoe County, us. We actually have counterparts in the California Highway Patrol because we typically do see them coming across over from the Sacramento area, Bay Area. And they are typically the ones that are causing more of our problems. They come up and they'll blast out something on social media, say, hey, be here. They've actually gone to putting out false information intentionally, trying to get us to spin up or waste our time. So yes, to answer the question, yes, they are organized. They do put out social media blasts, and they have their own little code of how they're trying to get things done and past us. But we have folks that work our plainclothes divisions that have other accounts and stuff that get invited in and stuff like that. So we do try to monitor it. As with anything, it's a cat and mouse game. They do something, we react, they change, we change, kind of go back and forth that way.
Well, is it crossing state lines? Is that like an FBI thing then? Or is it?
The FBI is not going to do anything with it. No. It's not affecting like interstate commerce or anything like that. And the crime itself isn't occurring when they cross state lines. The crimes happen either in their home city when they're acting a fool, or then they drive up here and then they start acting a fool. So the crime itself isn't crossing the state line. Them crossing state lines just happens to be where they're party and cause issues for the next city. But they go around the place. Sacramento, Bay Area, us, Stockton, Vegas. Vegas had some really, really gnarly ones. But yeah. Any other questions, sir?
Corey Bond for the record. Lieutenant, two things. One, will you clarify what Latrell officers are? I've seen it across social media, but they don't specifically explain what a Latrell officer is. So would you please do that? And my
Lateral officer, yes, sorry.
okay, I'm sorry if I.
No, you're good.
And
Absolutely.
my second question, and I'm not sure if it's gonna change because of the Ward 6, but you guys have always done really well, and you've split up the 4 wards. And traditionally, 4 has always been, I don't want to say, well, for lack of a better term, better than the other wards. So is that something that's going to continue where to break it down? And what I mean by break it down is crime in the 4 wards. Is that something that is going to continue now with the 6 wards?
Yeah, so we'll address the ward question first. So the wards, yeah, so we're going to continue to have the 6 wards. Everything will continue to be broken down the way it is. We're just going to add ward number 6.
Okay.
Now, depending on what day they decide to have their meetings on, will dictate which lieutenant they get, whoever comes out there. Right now, the swing shift lieutenants are myself and Lieutenant Browett. Being on the other side of that, Lieutenant Browett has the lion's share of the ward meetings. I have you guys. So we'll see, depending on if Ward 6 goes on one of Lieutenant Browett's days, or if they fall on my days, then it'll come to me.
Lateral law.
Lateral officers. So a lateral officer is another qualified peace officer from another agency. They're not starting from scratch. It's not just somebody coming in off the road. Hey, I want to be a police officer. We hired one from Los Angeles County. We had an officer that came back from retirement. She retired from Reno PD early and then came back, but she actually wasn't considered a lateral hire. because of the way she was hired. So she actually, I think they made her go, no, she was a lateral hire. So it's people that have previous post certifications. They have to be active posts, which means that they typically aren't 5 years old. If you retire and you do nothing with your post certificate for 5 years, you don't maintain the NAC, the Nevada Administrative Code training requirements, then you lose your post. And if somebody were to reapply, you'd have to reapply as a complete new hire, as a recruit.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Any questions from the board? Yes, please.
Ben Johnson, for for my own personal things, I'm in shipping. I just, the grants portion you had, for the hours worked for the commercial vehicle enforcement, do you have like some of your other officers are specifically trained for that, or is that just, highway patrol that, accumulates those hours? Because what I'm getting at is to be very specifically, if I were to pull over a truck, like you were saying, look up their DOT number, look up their safety rating, that'd be pretty interesting, like they have a issue with their brakes, and then do all your officers know how to operate and or check air brakes? I'm just curious if it's like, you have specific officers to do that, or is that specifically not Reno PD and it's highway patrol?
Yeah, so no, so the grant numbers that I gave you, the hours that we work, that's Reno PD.
Okay.
We have commercial vehicle inspectors that are certified. Not everybody can do it. I can't do it. I spent 6 years in traffic many years ago, but I never went through the commercial vehicle inspection stuff. You will see other officers that are attached to those. For, one of my commercial vehicle inspectors, if they're crawling underneath the truck, they have a safety officer there because we don't want them just crawling underneath the truck with nobody else watching to see what's going on. So they'll have somebody, and now that person may not be commercial vehicle and trained. But we have commercial vehicle inspectors that are, and they have access to what the program is that they use, that they can look up the safety ratings, stuff like that. They can issue the citations. We do work with the Nevada State Police. Gosh, I'm never gonna get that right. We work with NHP all the time and do those things. We set up their checkpoints. Sometimes we do our own checkpoints and stuff like that.
Got it. That was just a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jared Souther, for the record, just a quick question regarding all the new officers that graduated and onboarding, like where do we stand year over year for officers on duty? And how is that impacting the coverage in the Ward 4 neighborhood?
So right now we're barely keeping up with retirements. To be honest, we are the last number that we were given, we had 296 sworn officers. We are allotted 356. This was prior to the 21 graduating. We have 23 that just started the academy, but we're seeing high numbers of retirements just because of where we are as a department. That Safety 88 group hit a while ago, back in 2008, 2018, where we saw a mass exodus of retirees. We're kind of coming to that same area. I got hired 18 and a half years ago. So we're starting to see people in my academy area and a little bit ahead start to retire. So what we are seeing is while we are getting more recruits and we are being more successful at getting more people through successfully, we were seeing about 30% of our recruits coming out of the academy not making it through training. Our new hire program has actually helped out quite a bit, getting them exposed to local laws and procedures, policies, writing in police reports, because police reports aren't written like almost anything else. It's kind of a weird way to write stuff. So once they kind of wrap their heads around those things, so we're slowly creeping up, but it's a very, very slow battle right now.
One follow-up question again, Jared Souther. Is there more than 2 academies per year, or is it just 2?
No, so we try to run more. Right now, we've been, so when Chief Nance came in, she kind of implemented, hey, we've got open recruitment. For a while, we were opening and closing, and then people had to wait, but we still had a lot of openings, so it didn't make sense to her. She said, hey, let's stop that. We're gonna go ahead and start doing open recruitment. So we are openly recruiting. Once we have enough people, now the Northern Nevada Law Enforcement Academy is a joint academy. It's not just Reno PD. It's us, Sparks County, University, Police Services, so to include TMCC, and actually, I think Reno Sparks Indian Colony sends their guys through us as well. But that said, we have been running 2 to 3 academies per year. Once we have enough qualified recruits and we can fill the academy, we start one up. The problem that we run into is that we don't have a whole lot of full-time staff for our training programs. We have each agency has some people up at the academy, but in order to get the folks, sorry. waiting to make sure that we have enough people to bring in for our range staff, our defensive tactics staff, our emergency vehicle operations, those guys. So sometimes we have to balance that out. So we're trying to run more than 2 academies a year. We almost always run 2 a year. We try to run more if we can. So we'll see kind of where the numbers go.
Thank you. Any other questions for the?
Hope that's it. Time's up.
Right. Kelly York for the record, thank you for your time here tonight. Question, for the deed zones, do you have any, how is that planned out? Like, where do you guys choose? And then any plans to being up here in the North Valleys in Ward 4?
Yeah, so I don't know that we have any specific plans to come up in the North Valleys right now. What we do is we look at heat maps based on our calls for service, where our most calls for service per shift are, and they break it down per shift just because it makes it easier to look at it. So that's really how it goes down, because Ward 4 typically does tend to have a lower calls for service volume than the other wards. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't want to say it's not going to be, but I haven't seen any proposed zones up in the Ward 4 area yet. And again, this is still a pretty new program. I want to say we are 8 months into it. And so we're still kind of tweaking things and learning what works, what doesn't work, and then kind of adjusting and moving forward there. So like I said, it's absolutely not no, we're never going to Ward 4. I just haven't seen any of the zones that have been proposed yet come up this far.
Ernest? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ernest Burdick. I have a question on, I live on Stead Boulevard. And I see a lot of commercial trucking moving up and down the road, going both directions. There's a sign down at Lear that says no trucks. They're all supposed to turn off onto, I think of the Babcock.
Okay.
And go around to get to the warehouses, or they take Military Road. Now, Lear going between here and Military Road is also a no truck zone. Do you guys do any enforcement on that kind of traffic? Or what can be done to discourage it?
Right.
Say, like speed bumps
Yeah.
or something of that nature. They've changed the status on Stead Boulevard. Instead of being 4 lanes, it's now 2 lanes with a turn, center turn lane. So the traffic is definitely slowing. Well, I don't want to say slowing down. It's speeding up actually, where it's changes from 45 and then goes to 35. I'm constantly seeing people going both directions, speeding in excess of 40, 50 miles an hour.
So the no trucks sign is at Lear instead?
Yeah, Lear instead.
Where was the second one you said?
Past the light.
And where was the second one you said?
When you're coming from Military Road and you turn on to Lear, there's a sign right there. Again, it says no trucks, but I've seen trucks using that also.
So one at Lear instead, one at Military instead.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to follow up. I don't have the answer to that question. I can tell you like from because that's going to be a traffic division thing. I can tell you from just the staffing standpoint from the patrol side. Patrol's not going to do it. We just don't have the staffing to be out here.
Do you have the, what's the senior volunteers, whatever they're called?
Safe. There are senior auxiliary volunteer effort. They don't have the ability to do any enforcement.
Right, no enforcement, but they have the ability to come out there and sit there with a radar gun and report and see back as to what kind of traffic that we are getting.
Yep. So typically what we would advise citizens to do is put that request into Reno Direct. That way it gets funneled to the correct division through those guys. And usually how those requests are done, and I haven't been in traffic in over a decade now, so it's been a while, but what would used to happen is, hey, this service request would pop up on Reno Direct. It would look at it, and especially we'd look, hey, if we've got more than one, let's definitely take a look at this. So encourage your members to definitely be active on Reno Direct. And then that would go to the SAVE volunteers. Our SAVE guys would go out, take a look at it and say, hey, yes, this is a problem. We know this isn't a problem. Some of those things like the larger vehicles, big trucks, they actually look like they're going faster than they are. Saying there's an optical illusion, especially around turns. up hills and downhills. I know Stead is pretty straight and level, but just so you guys are aware, when you go through radar training, one of the things you have to do is you have to be able to visually estimate a vehicle plus or minus 10 miles an hour, and then confirm it with radar. So, and that's actually part of the test. You have to go out there and say, hey, I think this car is doing 37 miles an hour, and I hit it with the radar gun and say, hey, it's only doing 15. Okay, that one that one doesn't count. That was a miss for you. You have, I can't remember what the percentage is now. You have to have a pretty high percentage rate of being able to say, hey, I'm estimating that vehicle at 45 miles an hour opposed to 35 mile an hour zone. Cool, as we're doing 50, I'm within 5 miles an hour. That's a solid estimate. if that makes
Near the
sense.
motorcycles, especially at night.
Like,
You're here wind up and just.
oh. Yeah, those guys are different. Unfortunately, our state volunteers only work daytime hours. So it makes it more difficult for them to come out and do evening stuff because they're just not here.
So Ernest, what we can do, we'll connect with you after and we'll help you submit those Reno directs.
All right.
And we'll work through that process.
Thank you.
Of course.
What another comment?
Rebecca Flannery for the record. Would this also be a Reno direct issue for traffic regarding the light at Panther Valley, Virginia to Virginia? Because it splits because you can't get on to the highway right there. And there is a lot of, there will be a mile-long line to turn. And you still got people coming over and they've literally tried to hit my car to get in front of me because they don't want to wait in line. Is there any way we can maybe once in a while get an officer out there kind of observing and maybe making people, pay attention and behave and drive?
Yeah, that is a horrible problem. Just with the construction and stuff like that. I've been stuck in it for way longer than it needs to be, trying to get places. So what I would like to see done is have a traffic engineer come out and look at it, see if they can't readjust the light signals. Because since you're no longer able to go straight on the freeway, what's happened is you can only go 2 places. Well, in a place you used to be able to go 3, now you have all these people trying to make this small turn. So I would like to see a traffic engineer take a look at it and see if we can't re-engineer how that light cycle is. I don't know that they've done that. I would imagine that they have not, based on the traffic, and even if they did, I would ask them to come back out and say, hey, maybe we got the timing off. Maybe we need to look at this again, because you're right, it's absolutely horrible.
Mr. Chair, yes, and to answer you, Rebecca, yes, it would be a Reno direct, so we'd get traffic engineer, you'd ask for a traffic study. I do want to caveat that the timing of signals, the jurisdiction varies. So it may not be the city of Reno, but we can get that answer and then obviously go through the appropriate channels.
And
And if it's,
I feel like it's just that there's so many really
Yeah.
awful, aggressive, horrible, that don't want to wait in the line people. And it's just really awful intersection.
yes,
all of
but
it.
we can help you
Yeah.
submit that. And always when submitting your Reno directs, it is so important to be super detailed, like pictures, times, locations. I wish we could share like locations and pins, that would be amazing, but those are always very important things, so very important. But we'll help you submit both of you, those two. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Times, dates, stuff like that are
Yeah.
super important. Days of the week, because a lot of times we'll see requests that say, people are speeding on Stead. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I believe it. People are speeding on Stead. I don't know what to do with that. Right now, I think we've only got 8 motor officers right now. Just because, like I said, we're unfortunately very thin. When I was in motors many years ago, I think we had 25, 30 of us. So we now have 8 motor officers that are out trying to hit school zones, regular, their service requests, they go to crashes. Some of our motor officers are on our major accident investigation team. So then when we do have those, fatal accidents, stuff like that, we will lose one of those guys for a while as he's trying to pull data from the car, get warrants, stuff like that, going to court. So we're trying everybody, and everybody in the department is short, and everybody in the department is trying to steal from somebody else to try to just ease the workload on everybody, make sure that we all get the services that the community deserves as well.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Councilmember Hebert for the record. So I had some questions about the stats and stuff. I know other people kind of asked about it, but is it because we don't have data on the 6th ward yet, that we don't have those numbers tonight? Because everybody finds those really helpful when we have kind of the side by side to see where we fall with the other wards. And it's helpful for me too, to kind of remind people that we're one of the safer places to live, just based off of different types of calls for service and things like that. So you know, it's really helpful for me for an educational piece to have that kind of information, available. Is that something that'll come to the next update?
I would anticipate that it would.
Yeah, I can answer that question, Councilmember Eber, Abigail Mayorga for the record. So in the effort to provide the information that you see here today, I think the data analysts or the data individual that the RPD has, they send it every month. But the data was not provided today, because we were trying to focus on this new format. But the data is available. If and when it will continue, I think is still up in the air, given the direction. But we can get you the December stats.
Where could somebody find that online?
We can find it on the website and then also
Like
on
reno.gov or what website?
that City of Reno website. Also, when we send it to the board members, we'll make sure it's in the packet. So it will be on the Prime Gov City of Reno website for the packets.
Okay.
But I don't know what the future of these stats are because we're trying to move forward to informational. I think as LT said, like talking to, the other NABs and the consensus as a whole, talking about stats to people about, this is this and was that a murder? Unknown, right? So the information is trying to be more informational of what the RPD department is doing. So not necessarily as stats focused.
Okay, I think that the stats are a pretty good indication of what RPD is doing though. I mean, it's showing.
Yeah,
you
but it
know.
was just a consensus from all the NABs. So I
Okay.
will revisit and let you know.
Okay.
But this is the format that we introduced today.
Okay, great. And I think I heard another board member ask, for areas that maybe have, more calls for service in other areas. Yeah. I don't know if that's something that will come up in the next briefing from RPD or anything like that. If we'll see areas, if we have any kind of spikes due to like Reno Direct calls in or anything like that, will that ever be kind of presented?
Do you mean areas that are areas of increased calls for your ward, or do you mean just in general? I'd have to ask.
They do a typical, I think council members have the report regarding Reno Directs that gets sent.
I mean, for the NAB though, like if people are concerned, if people have questions about certain areas.
So if the data that is provided to you guys is open to the public, I don't know the value, because it's all the Reno Directs, correct? All the Reno Directs. If you're looking for specific RPD Reno Directs, then we would have to create a different report and be able to provide that to the NAB. But that would be something. Okay. But we can revisit if you'd like.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, I'd like to, looking at Zoom, is there anything on Zoom?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair, at this time.
All right, thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for.
All right. All right, item B4, we now have opportunity to hear Dr. Corbin process training.
All right, can you hear me all right? Okay, I'll do my best. My name is Lauren Morris. I'm the Chief Deputy City Clerk for the City of Reno. Just wait for the slide deck to come up.
Well, you can look that. Oh,
Listen, if I heard it earlier. Crazy.
Wow, yeah.
It was loud. Okay. Okay, cool. Next slide. All right, so this is just kind of an introductory slide here. So these are the topics that we're going to cover a little bit this evening, more in detail. All right, so as I'm sure you're all aware already, NAB stands for Neighborhood Advisory Board. So if you don't know, now you do. I know we have a few new NAB members this evening, but I think most of you are pretty familiar. So let's see. Prior to 2025, we only had 5 NABs, but as you know, with the redistricting and the elections, we now have 6 wards and 6 NABs. And then the mayor serves in an at-large capacity, so she does not oversee a NAB, but she represents the city as a whole. So for the governance of NABs, the NABs are governed by City of Reno Resolution 9317. This was actually just adopted September 19th, 2024, because our fabulous community liaison team amended the previous resolution to bring them kind of all into conformance, I believe, and make them. So it is broken into 3 different sections ultimately, so membership, function, scope, functionality, and governance. So in membership, it talks about the board composition, and then, so like the NABs consist of 11 members and 2 alternates, all appointed by council. And the NABs serve as a forum for basically for your community to provide feedback to city council. And then for functionality and governance, your function is to basically review different things like development projects, programs and things that the city thinks that you might have, that your feedback would be important to them. And then you also serve as community liaisons just for your ward in general. So, we have members of the public that come to your NAB, provide information about things that are going on in your area, issues of concern, potential project improvements, that kind of thing. And so then that information is then relayed to council, like council member Ebert is your liaison. So, okay, next one. And so we talked about this already a little bit, but you serve as community liaisons. So you facilitate that communication between the constituents in your ward and your elected officials. For engagement in the review of city and neighborhood topics, for example, Carter is here this evening, so you have different like planning cases that will come before you. And so you review those and provide comments that are ultimately included as part of like deliberation for council, planning commission, that kind of thing. And then, as I already mentioned, you can identify neighborhood and community improvements as well in your own area. And then for providing feedback, talked about this a little bit, but so it isn't your responsibility to take action on those items, but all of your comments are taken into consideration by council. It's their responsibility to listen to that. Next slide. All right. And then you can even go to the next one. So you're also governed by Robert's Rules of Order. Basically, I'm not going to read through this. This is just kind of a general, like, this is the process of making a motion and that kind of thing. But in short, Robert's Rules of Order just ensures that meetings are run efficiently. Next one. And so these are part of that as well. You've been doing a great job tonight with presiding officers referred to as Mr. or Madam Chair. They generally, should not be addressed by their name. It's always the formal title. So, and then same goes for other members. So depending on the type of board, it'd either be, like Director Jones, or for you, Member Roberts, that kind of thing. For obtaining the floor, you have to be recognized by the chair first. So you would call on them Mr. or Madam Chair, and then they will recognize you by announcing you by your title, or even in smaller assemblies, they can just, kind of like nod in your direction and give you the floor that way. And then for order of business, there is a standard for this, but it's all laid out for you in your agenda as well, starting, with call to order, roll call, public comment, all of that. Pledge of Allegiance is not required. However, a lot of people do like to put that in there just to, acknowledge. And then public comment is, I think I mentioned this later on, but public comment is in the beginning of the agenda and at the end, and that is per Nevada revised statutes as well. And then for making a motion, there are several steps to that, which again, you've been doing a great job. So a voting member would obtain the floor from the chair and then make the motion. Another member seconds the motion. And then it is the duty of the chair to restate that motion for deliberation or vote. And then it's very important to make sure that your motion is clear. If it's unclear, then it is the job of the chair to restate it for the record to make sure that everyone understands what you're deliberating or voting on. Next slide. All right. Next one. So again, I won't read this, but you're governed as well by NRS 241, open meeting law. There is a lot to it that we will get into as well, but this is just making sure that all of your business is conducted openly to the public so that the public is aware of what you're doing. Next slide, please. So part of that are, again, the agendas. So staff prepares those for you. Action can only be taken on items that are listed as for possible action. Discussion needs to be limited to the scope of the agenda item. And then, not that you have to worry about it, but the agenda is posted by 9 a.m. on the third business day prior to the meeting. But what you do need to know in that realm is that once the agenda is posted, no additional items can be added to that agenda. However, items can be removed, which is part of your approval of the agenda process. For quorum, in order to take formal action on any item, a majority of the voting members have to be present and able to vote on that. And then communication is a big one. So under this umbrella, we're considering like serial communications and walking quorums. So these are two things that you really do need to be careful of. So let's say if the community liaisons email something out to the whole group, just making sure that you're not doing things like replying all, because that is then a quorum. And so like a serial communication is specifically electronic means. And then for walking quorums, those can be even more complicated. It could be like 3 of you leave the room and have a conversation about something that's on the agenda. And then maybe 1 of you then meets with another 2 people outside of the room kind of. And so it's clear that you're not being open to the public about what you're discussing. So just making sure to avoid that. Let's see. And then for public comment, again, I already mentioned this, but it'll be on the agenda in the beginning and in the end. It's also recommended that you take public comment on any issue that you're advising the city on as well. Okay, next. All right. And then next, this is just going to be on like etiquette. And so it's just kind of like retouching on Robert's rules. Just making sure, so proper etiquette is following Robert's rules, preparation, reading all the materials prior to the meeting so that you come prepared and ready to discuss everything on the agenda. Interruptions, disruptive conduct is, you know, don't do that, but it's also outlined in your agenda too. It explains in the beginning what kind of the disruption looks like. And then for just interruptions and side conversations, trying to minimize those for, I mean, many reasons, but one also is, you know, for Marianne Potts, right? She's taking the minutes. And so making sure that you're identifying yourself clearly and you're not having those things where they're picking up the additional sounds, they can't hear the actual conversation that's going on. And then also with that, just, it can look like you're deliberating on something, even if it's something totally different, like just talking about something that happened during your day. So just make sure you limit that. All right, and then last but not least, public records. You can go to the last one. So what is a public record? And that is all city business, anything that you create in your capacity as a NAB member. It also includes the paperwork in front of you, my notes, sticky notes, any of that will be considered public records. So even emails, text messages, anything that you do in your capacity as a NAB member. And so the reason that we talk about that is because the city clerk's office receives 25,000 to 30,000 public records requests per year. We have one person doing them as well. But everything that you do is subject to a public records request. So, you know, John Doe could request your sticky notes from this meeting. So just to be careful about everything that you're putting down, it's very important. And with that confidentiality, there are really only a few things that we're able to protect for confidentiality. And that's really just things like personally identifiable information or PII. So social security numbers, driver's license numbers, that kind of thing, juvenile information. And there also was an attorney general opinion that your personal devices when working in your official capacity can be subject to a public records request. So just be very careful about what you're doing. That is all that I have. We don't have a question slide, but I'm happy to answer them. But if you have other, questions outside of these, please direct them to your liaisons and they'll connect with us as well.
So 1 second here, first turning to our board, I see Benjamin first.
Yeah, Ben Johnson for record. So, going back to our personal devices, so, during our capacities, sorry, the verbiage there kind of got me. So, while we're during this meeting, if I am texting my wife and then you guys get a request, I have to provide that, right? During that
No.
meeting time or no?
Lauren Morris for the record, no. It would only be if it's something that you're communicating in an official capacity. So it would have to be you're, texting somebody else about, like if you're deliberating or that kind of thing. So it has to be an official capacity.
How would someone know if it was an official capacity when they put in a request?
They won't. They can submit the request, but that doesn't mean we have to get it to them.
Okay.
Yes,
So
so
then it'd be
everything
on
is,
the
everything's.
city council or city to ask me and be like, was this during or about, the meeting or any of the agenda items? I say no, or, investigate that before providing it. Okay. That was pretty much it that I had for that. Thank you.
Yeah, John White. How many of us can show up for a birthday or any informal gathering at any one time?
Lauren Morris for the record. I'm not sure when we have to issue like a notice of possible quorum.
There's 7 of them, so at any time, well, right now, there are 7 of you, Abigail Merrick for the record. There are 7 of you, so anytime at 4, but informal meetings are typically fine if it was a birthday party, as long as you're not deliberating. So it's a very gray area. Yes.
Lauren Morris for the record. I think it would be more like if you were all attending like it has to be like
Like a
more of an official
scheduled meeting.
capacity. Yeah,
Yes.
something.
Like John, you emailed 4 people and you're like, hey, let's all meet up, and I'm on the email, and there's 4 of them, so let's all meet up to talk about X, Y, Z. On the next meeting.
Thank you. All right, please go ahead.
Rebecca Penright for the record. At the last meeting, we did have a gal, she was one of our newly appointed, planning commissioner people. And she was telling me that they don't actually receive any of the information or the discussions that we have here and now. She's now on one of them, the few months she's been there. So I'm not quite sure how that works.
Yeah, so Abigail Mayorga for the record, and Carter, you can jump in. But the planning commissioners do receive the public comment. There is the specific public comment that is received through the link on the development section of the form. So if and when people submit the public comment through the form, those do go to the planning commission. They are on the staff reports, on the agendas when posted. Specifically when it comes to the NAB comments, like your guys' comments, general comments that you guys are speaking do not get captured. They are relayed to the planner, and then the planner relays it to the appropriate assigned planner, because Carter's not necessarily the one assigned. So it is kind of incumbent, similar to Councilmember Ebert, like if she wasn't the planning commissioner or planning staff lead or council liaison, the other council members go and watch the planning meetings. So it sometimes is a little bit incumbent upon the planning commissioners to go and watch whatever the NAB is or whatever. They do get a stipend to participate, and they get the materials and all the things. So I know, like I said, Councilmember Ebert is the liaison to the planning commission, so she goes and she's at the meetings, but the other council members are not. So how would they get that information? They go and watch the videos, they go through the public comment. But in that same vein, we have connected with our planning department to make this easier for the planning commissioners and the public, with a memo template to summarize all the items that are discussed at NABS, and that will be provided to the planning commissioners. Anything you want to add, Carter? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Abigail.
Yes, so just to make that process easier for them, because it is a lot of material.
Any other questions from the NAB? Seeing none, public comment. Corey, saw your hand.
Okay, Abigail, maybe this is for you, if not Lauren, it's for you. Corey Bond for the record. Previously, I thought that when we had our meetings, when we had presentations, all of our comments were given to the planning commission. Now, Lauren, if I understood what you just said, you said everything goes through the city council. So could you guys, the two of you, clarify that for me?
I think what, Abigail Mayor for the record, so planning commission comments that are submitted go to the planning commission. And similar to that, all the stuff that is at the planning, if and when there is an appeal, goes to the city council. So all the old stuff from whatever was discussed, all the stuff that was discussed goes to city council. Additionally, all the things that were discussed at planning commission also goes to city council.
Okay,
These meetings are recorded, they're on YouTube. I think all the meetings have always been on YouTube. They're available to the public to watch, minutes as well, and the packets, which are on the website. And if and when that you don't have the information, that's when you would submit a public records request to the city clerk, or the public would submit a public records request to the city clerk for additional information. Like if you wanted my, like she said, my notes or whatever, or I missed a presentation, or you don't see the presentation we're talking about, then we would go and provide that to the public.
got it. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
You're welcome. Madam Deputy Clerk, I did have a couple questions that kind of originated actually from Kathleen Egan in the past when they brought up this presentation. So I know that Ben kind of touched on a little bit of the public records, but I wanted to touch upon legal responsibilities and liabilities for NAB members. So the planning commissioners get paid a stipend. NAB members do not. And I don't think any board and commission, other board and commissions besides the planning commission does. Is that correct?
I honestly would not be able to answer that, but I'm not, so I came from Washoe County previously. I've only been with the city clerk's office since September, so doing my best. But I know that some boards receive a stipend, but it's in statute, and that's the reason that they have that. So I am not aware of any at the city that do, but I'd be happy to follow up with Mickey and let you know.
Thank you. The other thing is, I think from these presentations, like our team has gone and moved forward with onboarding and all these new things. So the clerks come annually and provide this presentation. Are there any additional materials that the NAB members can kind of go on their own and look into to kind of just better, understand their roles? From a clerk's perspective.
Man, there's a lot available on the website even, but if you do have questions, you can contact our office at any time. I know our phone number by heart. I'd be happy to give you that in our email address too. But I mean, I think it really depends on the capacity. Yeah.
I know in the past, the city clerk would help with the term notifications, the applications, welcome letters, appointments, and expiration notifications. So I just want to clarify the process for everyone. I know we kind of have a little bit of some juggling there, but just want to clarify the process. Yeah.
Again, I don't really have an answer for this because I think this is between our team and the community liaisons because we're both down staff. So we're trying to figure out what the process is going to look like. Currently, right now, I don't think we're making the notifications to you, but that's again because we have one person who handles all of our public records requests and all of our boards and commissions stuff. So yeah, so connect with you and we'll figure it out.
And we'll let you guys know because I want, we'll make sure, but
We'll figure it out.
yes. And then my final question, I've gotten questions from other publics, from other NABs who don't necessarily want to ask in public. But they wanted to touch base on the roles of a staff liaison, like what my role is, what the role of the council liaison is, and the role of the board members.
Okay, yes. So the staff liaison, like Abby and Jen, they support the board and the council liaison basically. So they're managing the meeting preparation, the agenda and that kind of thing. So Councilmember Ebert's role as a liaison, so she's not like a voting member of the board, but she's here to, hear your concerns because you're representing her area as well and report that back to council and basically be your representative. And so then your roles are to, provide that feedback to Councilmember Ebert so that she can she can do her job in that realm and then listen, to the presentations and just let her know your concerns.
Thank you.
Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. We now have the opportunity to hear from Ed Silver, who's the CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. Man.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Silver. I'm CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. I'm very glad to be here. I got lost on my way and saw all the trucks parked. So I think you want to do something like that. I was invited at the request of Councilwoman Ebert, and I appreciate the opportunity to say just a few things about the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest business organization in Northern Nevada. We have over 2,300 members, meaning companies and nonprofits, and they range from small mom and pop businesses all the way up to Tesla, Amazon, Switch, you name it, small, medium, and large companies. We are a private nonprofit 501c6. So if you join the chamber, that's not tax deductible, might be a business expense, but it's not tax deductible. We receive no city, county, state, or federal funding. We also don't have a political action committee that was eliminated over 10 years ago. So our chamber does not endorse nor raise money for candidates, but we do every election cycle candidate forums so that anyone who is running for a city, county, state, or federal office comes to the chamber. It's not debate style. They're there individually. They're given 30 minutes to present their pitch and then take questions and answers. So it's all very consistent, very fair. And they're done at different times, so they're not passing each other in the hallway and breaking out into fights. I'm very proud of the fact that we're in the 40th year of our Reno Sparks Leadership Program. We will have a big reunion in June. President Sandoval is a graduate. I don't go back 40 years. I'm in the 10th year of my role as CEO, but I've taught the class for 10 years. We get so many applications. I try and distill them down. I always tell my board I'll only take 25. I have 32 that I've selected. That program is 5 months long, and it's a way for emerging leaders to get a lot of exposure to elected officials, leaders and influencers in the community, Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County. And they're presumably selected because they have indicated their interest in becoming a leader, or they are at some level of leadership, and they want greater exposure in the community. We also hold citizenship classes at the Reno Sparks Chamber, Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. We think that's a good way to encourage individuals to seek citizenship so that they're legally working here. That course runs for 12 weeks. It operates twice a year. As I mentioned, it's Tuesday and Wednesday evenings beginning at 5:30. It's a rough time for folks who have worked all day. They come to the chamber at 5:30. The class is until 8 o'clock. And I would imagine there's no one here who could pass the test without taking that class. I last took a civics class in 4th grade. And when I hear that class going on, I realize how very difficult and how much study is involved in becoming a US citizen. So my hats are off to all those individuals who come to the chamber for that. We hold regular events. And just this morning, we had over 125 people at our Coffee and Commerce networking event. We do a business after hours. We'd love to have a reason to do one here instead. We have some members of our chamber who have businesses out here. But I think one of the reasons I was asked to be here tonight is that Councilwoman Ebert is very interested in attracting businesses to the Stead area. I've come back and forth to Stead for many years in many capacities. And coming here this evening, I noticed the same few stores. 7-Eleven, a dollar store, gas stations, etc. And those of you who, all of you who live here deserve much more in the way of active commerce. Now, that doesn't mean I can tell a business owner, you must be instead. What I do need from you, and you're welcome to call me, email me anytime. I need to know the demographics. For instance, let's say you're a kid-friendly pizza parlor and you're not a bar. Well, that owner is going to want to know how many kids are in this community, maybe 12 and under. Or there might be a senior care facility, and they'd be interested in knowing from a demographic standpoint, how many 50 and older inhabitants are there? And having been in retail for a long period of time in my life, I know that location is everything. And retailers are always calling the chamber to ask for demographics, most of which we get from the city of Reno or city of Sparks or Washoe County. But a business won't just plop down somewhere and say, I hope I make it. They're going to do a lot of study. Chances are their bank that's doing the lending is saying to them, have you prepared yourself for the demographics of the community? Certainly city planners are involved. Certainly there are art engineers and architects, and there's a long business licensing process. But it really starts with the location. And can that location support, by virtue of its demographics, a hair salon or a nail salon or a pizza parlor or a fine dining restaurant, a dry cleaner, whatever type of business you may want out here. And what I would like to know as CEO of the chamber, and I can get that through Councilwoman Ebert or from you directly, what type of businesses do you see a need for here as residents of this ward? Because I will communicate with our members, many of whom have franchises, many of whom are looking for new locations. It's my job to communicate to our members what we know the citizens of this community want. Doesn't mean it will happen, but it means I've got a good basis on which to encourage them to come to a NAB meeting, for instance, and say, we're interested in opening a bowling alley here. Do you think there are bowlers in this area? And you can't just, say, yeah, I think so. You're going to have to do some homework. The city will do homework for you. The chamber will do homework for you, because no business wants to take the time and preparation and money. Very often it's their child's education, or their mortgage that they're putting out there. They want to know that they'll succeed. And we do three things at the chamber, and we stay in our lane. We only do three things. We advocate for businesses, which means we do everything we can at the city, county, state, and federal level to make sure businesses are successful. And for instance, with the legislature starting on February 3rd, I will be there every single day to make sure there are not undue burdens placed on businesses or regulations that hamper businesses or don't allow free and open competition. In every legislative session, there are bills that attempt to place more burdens or restrictions on business just at a time when people are saying, I'd like to open a business. So it's my job to testify in front of various committees to say why I think those potential regulations may harm or hurt commerce. I also speak to the city council on occasion, speak to the Sparks City Council, speak to the Washoe County Commissioners. I try to avoid those kind of presentations. I don't do a lot of PowerPoint because I think they're distracting. I was listening tonight to the speakers who vie against their PowerPoints and often can't keep up with them. But I'm someone who believes I'm going to always say what I mean and mean what I say. I report to 17 board members, and I'm an at-will employee. I can be terminated at any time. So I am always very careful about what I say, and because we don't endorse politicians, I am free to say what the chamber board represents and what we think is best for business. Our second role is to inform our members. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out by email to 6,200 email addresses every Tuesday morning. It's for our members. We provide news, timely news, federal news, state and local news. Our members have an opportunity to advertise their businesses, both in that email and certainly on their unique portal in the directory. And then the last thing we do is connect our members to one another. When you're talking about 2,300 different businesses and nonprofit organizations, we don't have a room big enough to have all 2,300, but we have events, and I know that your chair is well aware our room can get very crowded, but that's what we want. We want people to exchange business cards, information, network with one another. Businesses tend to be good business citizens. They support each other, and they raise, all boats rise when commerce is doing very well. So I won't belabor the point, but I am very interested at Councilwoman Ebert's interest in not really reviving, but creating more businesses here in your area. It has grown. You have a lot of residential areas, a lot of apartment complexes, and I am very interested to know not necessarily at this moment, but interested to know what types of businesses, because we have one of everything in our chamber. And it would be interesting for me to know what you want so that I can approach a specific industry, a type of business, a type of restaurant, a type of product, manufacturer that might say, this is great. I have an operation in Reno, love to be out instead. Love to be here, love to see what the demographics could yield by way of business, because everything we do as a nonprofit is to ensure that our members are successful. So I am open to any questions you may have. Once again, Ann Silver, CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. A little bit just about myself, because I don't know any of you other than the chair, who is a member of the chamber. Born and raised in New York City, Stead is fascinating to me. I grew up without a driver's license. I went to Cornell University, Notre Dame Law School. I came out to Nevada as an attorney for Indian Legal Services. Worked for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and stayed. I ended up in state government, where I was head of the Department of Employment and Training, better known as DETR. I then found my way to the nonprofit world, where I was head of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I had a little brother who lived out here instead. And then I ended up at the Chamber of Commerce. This is my 10th year. I really love it because it's the best combination of the private sector, government, and business. And everything we do to advocate, inform, and connect our members has kind of led me to a point where I really enjoy the job. I really enjoy meeting business owners. I've never had the courage to open a business, and I probably will never have that courage. But I'm certainly a shopper, and most of us are. And whether we stop at a 7-Eleven for coffee or a Starbucks, which I don't think you have out here.
Yeah,
or
we do.
Do you? Oh, that's great. I want to stop on the way back.
Lemon.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. We do represent, for instance, the Job Corps. I'm out here very often because they do wonderful workforce training development programs, and many of our employers like to hire people from there. But you know me now. If you see me or want to chat with me, I left materials on the counter over there. One is a brochure starting with We Advocate, Inform, and Connect, and gives you an idea of all the programs and our contact information. I also brought information about our association health plan, which has really brought more members to our chamber. If you are a business that has between 2 and 50 full-time employees, we have what's called an association health plan, where we broker your comprehensive health insurance, medical, dental, vision, and life insurance at much lower cost than you might find anywhere else. It can be sold by any licensed broker, but we now cover over 6,400 lives within that association health plan. They were determined by the Supreme Court to be legal once that at one point they were not. They're back as legal entities again, and we're very proud of that association health plan. And you will see the latest edition of the relocation guide, which we produce. It is meant for those people who are moving into the community, but also has a whole lot of material about things you might not even be aware of. And we give out thousands of copies. You may be aware there's a Reno Sparks Visitors and Convention Authority. We get all the telephone calls. No one knows what an RSCVA is or an EDON is, so everybody calls the chamber. And we have a weekly contest among my 3 staff. By the way, what is the strangest call we get each week? And believe me, they are strange. I had a gentleman last Friday afternoon, almost every Friday afternoon, the phones start ringing when people are checking into hotels for the weekend. But I had a call from a gentleman who wanted me to find immediately his marriage license from the 1950s. He wanted to get divorced. He was married in Reno. I don't think the chapel even existed anymore. And it took 30 minutes to explain the chamber doesn't maintain the Marriage License Bureau, but it's our job to be gracious and warm to those individuals who are looking to move here, whether we like it or not, they are. And we also think we'll see an effect from the fires in California with people coming over the hill and saying maybe deserts have a lot to offer, and certainly less in the way of taxes. So we are getting an onslaught just this week, in fact, of calls for our relocation guide and people who contact us every hour of the day. And if you're at the chamber, you would see and hear the phones ringing all the time. I would like to invite you to any of our events, whether you're a member or not, just so you can see what we do and see how we bring the business community together from all three entities, Washoe County, Sparks, and Reno. And I'm always available for any questions you might have or any interest you may have in telling me what types of businesses you think would work out here. Questions once again before I leave the stage.
Looking at my
Board, any questions? Yes, please.
Ben Johnson, for the record. First thing I want to say is not a question, it's a statement. You're very well spoken.
Oh,
And
thank
I know
you.
you said you don't do, the slideshow. I think what you did off the cuff like that was amazing.
Oh,
So
thanks.
really good job on
I
that.
appreciate
Explain
that.
what you do and how well you do it. So,
Thank you.
and I did have a question. Now I feel like it's left me. It's getting late.
Well, you have some
So
time.
right now, I think I'll just leave with the statement. So, again, I just want to say good job.
Well, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yes, John, I'll start.
John White, do you have any idea what it would take for a dry cleaner to want to come to this area? We had one. They
Yeah,
left like
you
5
did.
years ago. They're immense. They're so overwhelmed with the 3 or 4 branches of military, police, fire,
Yes.
and everybody else coming to them. And they moved down to California Street, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't go that far. Well, why does nobody want to be out here?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I think, Stead, which is known for former air races, for those people, just like you go home at night, you're not going to drive back into downtown Reno. In fact, I don't know anybody who drives back into downtown Reno, which is a problem. Many people don't think of going to Stead or people living in Stead. So it's my job to say to our members, there's a great number of people wearing uniforms, wanting dry cleaning. Maybe they need their wedding dresses stored. I get reasons from businesses I get reasons from residents who want particular businesses. I'm aware of that dry cleaner. They are a member of our chamber, actually. And I'm happy to convey that this would be a perfect place to have a second operation.
They're great people. I really
Yeah,
like
yeah,
them. but,
sure.
they moved.
Yeah, they moved. I don't know the story of whether rent went too high or they just thought this was too far a drive, or with construction, they just couldn't make the trip. Dry cleaners tend to open very, very early, not to the public, but to do their work because of various environmental hazards. So there are lots of things that, as I've indicated, can make it very difficult to open a business. Our job is to find all those barriers and try to overcome them, whether it's with the city, the county, or City of Sparks. But that's a good question, and I'll look into that.
Another hand from over here,
Yes.
please.
Rebecca Flannery from the record. I know I hear a lot of, like, for example, we only have what, Rayleigh, Smith's, Walmart. That's pretty much our shopping centers for those are like our shopping centers for the entire valleys.
Mhm.
And there's also not a lot of, like, sit-down restaurants,
Right.
kid boarding with your family. Is there any, interest in any of those type of businesses coming out of this possibly?
Well,
Because that's what we need out.
sure. I'm a big proponent of that. I left early so I could get here on time, and I thought, I don't even know where to stop and get a light supper, not wanting to go to fast food. So I think there's a very great appetite, literally here, for you to have dining varieties, not necessarily fine upscale dining, but restaurants, pancake house, it could be anything. And we have so many restaurants that are members of the chamber that I think would like to come out here. And I think many of them should come and present to you. And sometimes it's nothing more than a petition of maybe 500 people who sign something saying, please bring a Chuy's Mexican restaurant here, or please bring a Pizza Baron out here, or we'd like a soft custard place, or we would like a dry cleaner. I pass those along to our members who then say, maybe I'm gonna try Stead. That sounds like a really great idea. They may not make it, or they may make a decision later on to leave the area. But it's my job to convey those issues and interests. And I think you've raised a good point. The lack of dining.
And
Out
seems like
here.
we're just getting, like, and maybe I love Mexican food, but
Sure.
that's pretty much
Yeah,
like our options.
Yes,
As far as.
yes. That and pizza.
Yeah.
And I will say that, I also am old enough to have had a lot of careers. One was in the restaurant business. 90% of restaurants fail, and they fail for many reasons. the least one is food. Most of us are not connoisseurs of food. It's really location and customer service that can make or break a restaurant. I think you are in dire need of more dining establishments, probably child-friendly, also senior-friendly, also a place that may have a drive-in and pickup, but also a place you could go sit down. When I drove into town tonight, I thought, I've been here a lot and I've never, ever, I buy a bag of chips at the gas station and eat it on the way back to South Reno. So I think restaurants are high on my list for Stead. And I'm sure in working with Councilwoman Ebert, we want to do what we can to convey to the restaurant community that they should look at this area and the population data.
Ernie Brigg, we used to have, well, we still have it, a nice cafe called Hometown Cafe off of Lemon.
Okay.
And before COVID hit, they were open for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I know they served a lot of the military out here at Stead, especially during the lunch hours.
Sure.
People having to come out to the warehouses, coming in, getting breakfast early, stuff like that. But when COVID hit and things kind of went down the tubes a bit, they cut their hours off in the evening, so they close at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I noticed a lot of eating establishments did the same. They're open for breakfast and lunch, but in the evening, there's no place to go around here other than Taco Bell, McDonald's, things like that. You have to travel quite a ways down. I mean, as far as I know, Bonanza is the closest place where you can have a nice sit-down dinner.
Sit-down dinner, right.
Order town.
You know, one of the biggest issues is actually hiring and retention. We have more jobs open in Washoe County than we have people living in. So what you'll hear from businesses, particularly small businesses that, unlike Tesla or other places, don't have huge HR departments or don't have a budget to advertise or do a major billboard saying they're hiring, is the lack of available, ready-to-work employees. And for many restaurant establishments, they took a huge hit during COVID. Trained staff left and went, worked elsewhere, got another job, someplace out of town, and they've never come back. So many of the restaurants, even in Midtown Reno, suffer from constant turnover of employees. And that would be one of the things that a business owner would look at. Can I hire from within the local community? Can I have people who walk to work, bike to work, don't travel a long way, don't have to get on the freeway? You know, giving employment to your local community residents.
Now, in the last 4 years, it's been a building boom out here. We have so many new apartments.
Yes.
Houses. Have you guys have any idea how many new residents have come in since that all started?
Well, we're able to contact the city and we're able to contact the business licensing division and we're able to contact demographic specialists to say, what is the population of this particular area? And as I indicated before, how many children 12 and under, how many seniors 50 and up, that sort of thing, male, female. And that's not the difficult part. But really most of what I would say is common sense. It only takes a drive on Stead Boulevard to realize there are not many places where one could stop. And yet developers have convinced people to move here. And we know, you know, I won't get political because I'm not, but certainly developers are able to sell homes and rent apartments. And then people say, where do I go? And that's when we get called. You know, I moved out here, I bought this house, I was told I could drive anywhere and get to anything. No one told me about the construction. No one told me there's nowhere to take my kids for dinner. There's nowhere to, you know, take my dry cleaning. And then the chamber is called and you think, it's not my fault. I mean, I didn't sell you the house, I didn't rent you the apartment. But to that end, our effort is to make businesses successful. And if we can get businesses to expand, so they are serving the local community, we know they're sustainable then. We know they're going to make it for the long term. And as much information as you want to convey to me through Councilwoman Ebert or directly to the chamber, we welcome that. Because even in this relocation guide, I think there's a lot of information in there that I feel badly distributing to people. Because I want to say to them, you know, maybe you don't want to buy in this area, or maybe you should ask more questions before you do. And I think that's going on all over this community as we expand. And we get people from out of state coming in like myself, but that was a long time ago. We have a lot of people coming over the hill now. And I will just say for the record, I'm not sure that we have the infrastructure to support the growth that we've seen. And the chamber's position from a public policy standpoint is we believe in growth, but that is planned growth with the accompanying infrastructure to support it, not after, but before.
Kelly Orr for the record. I'm gonna take a lot of this time, so thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited you're here. You're like a Christmas gift to me. I've lived in northern Nevada for over 20 years, but I traveled all over the world and grew up all over the world. Things I see that are lacking in the North Valleys of living in South Reno, living in Northwest Reno, living in Fernley and Fallon and Gardnerville, and settling here in North Valleys. There's not one place, a team for a football, a cheerleading, a soccer, swimming, can get together and meet. There's not one place that can service them food-wise unless it's the adorable, same pizza on, you know, in Red Rock. So I'd love to see BJ's Brewing. Our demographic, I can, you know, in a sense, answer that. We've had over 36,000 residents in this area. We have the same amount of residents demographically that Sparks has, and they've grown a Costco, they've grown a Home Depot, they've put all these amenities for that. Now that's the city of Sparks, we're now in the city of Reno, and North Valleys and Ward 4 is, like we all say, we have some, you know, county land and we have some city land kind of mixed in, and I would love to see the Chamber of Commerce, you know, get furniture stores, you know, Costco. We now have warehouses that are disappearing because they've lived out their contract term. And so these vacant spaces, how do we get people excited to come in here? We're all traveling out. How do we keep the footprint in? Are some great incentives, I think, for business owners. No bagel shops. We have delicious coffee out here. I think, like saying donut shops, we're all going to the grocery stores, but also in a bigger picture, we serve Hollywood Junction, we serve Chilkoot, we serve Loyalton, we serve California neighbors with our grocery stores. So by the time we get to the grocery store, our services have been depleted and we have to wait. So as smart shoppers, we're ordering online, we're going, if we're on different sides of town for doctor's appointments, there's no medical facilities. We gotta go out unless it's like Absolute Dental or like an x-ray urgent care little thing. There's no doctor's office. There's a few physical therapy places alongside in a chiropractic. So we need more out here. We need more for our residents. I personally have been talking up everyone's ear. I would love to see a Wolf Lodge in the back of Red Rock. I think it's an outstanding idea because there's so much traffic on the highway. Where's a staycation? Where's a hotel? When family members come to visit us in the North Valleys, we have to go to the airport, get them, take them to their hotel, or they go to their hotel. Then they got to drive all the way out here to see us, and it is a little different.
Well, I think your comments are incredibly right on. What I learned this evening yet again, and I also have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the library board, so I can attest to the power of public comment. The fact that you are able to take your issues to your city council representative, but you are also able as a NAB to make those comments to the planning commission and to say, there are things we don't want here, but there's a whole list of things we do. And what would it take to get them? Whom can you put us in front of? You can say to me, what businesses could I bring out here at a NAB meeting to talk with you? I think you'd be inspirational to many businesses who may not have made the trek. The traffic and the construction, you know, is a deterrent to some extent, but you could host an open house for restaurants at a NAB meeting and say, we want to hear from you. We want to invite 10 restaurants to come and hear why we present a really good opportunity for you based on our demographics. And the power of public comment and public participation is enormous. At the library board meeting last night, we had 4.5 hours of public comment. So, and I know Councilwoman Ebert hears that all the time at city council meetings. Your voice matters, and I'm a real believer in that. I use mine as a citizen. You should use yours. There's no reason you should be ignored. I think you have a terrific councilwoman to represent you who wants very much. I wouldn't be here if she hadn't said to me, you know, come on, what can we do? What can we get out here? So you have someone in your corner, but nothing stops you from inviting restaurants or entities that run those restaurants or run, you know, they might be corporations. You can Google and generally find out where they're headquartered, or if you know someone who wants to start a restaurant, maybe they have they have one in South Meadows and you want one out here, you can call me and I can talk to them. I can see if they're a member, but there's so many ways to do this. I don't think you should sit and feel as frustrated as you do. This is a wonderful place to live. It's just as important as South Reno. You're the size of Sparks. Come on, let's make this happen. I remember years ago, a former city councilwoman referring to this area as the North Star. And my thinking, yeah, it really is. Let's make it shine. Let's bring businesses here that cater to the demographics of this community. And really that's anything and everything, from a dry cleaner to different types of restaurants, maybe Chinese food, you know, who knows what it is, but I think there's a sense that you want it all. And if you can convince those business owners that you'll be supporters, you will support commerce. Our Chamber of Commerce will do everything we can to find them grants, lines of credit, small business advocacy support, small business development center support. All of those entities are what we bring to the table to say, if money is your issue, let's help you. If it's getting a line of credit, let's help you with that. If it's finding employees in the local community or hiring high school kids, we'll do a career fair at the local high school. So all of that is done to support the advent of new businesses.
Thank you, Ann, so much for coming out
Yes,
tonight.
thank you so much. I know I
We have just 10 minutes left.
So
before
thank
we get
you.
kicked out of the building.
Please take the information.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
We'd love to have you come back again.
Yes,
soon.
I am.
Good to see you.
All right, at this time, we do need to move into a presentation for the Arnett Storage Building.
Yes, Mr. Chair, they don't have a formal presentation, but the applicant is here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Maybe a brief introduction to summarize what is going to be shared.
Was that? Oh. Yeah, my name is Sam Hersig. I'm a building contractor. And I've been contracted by Precision Sheet Metal, which is a long-term North Valley manufacturer. They do high-end stuff. They build slot machine bodies. They have projects with Tesla, but very high-end. And their initial building they purchased in 1974, which was on North Sutro Street, which was way out, in those days, was way out at Reno. And they started their manufacturing there. Eventually, they needed a much larger facility, so they're now located in Stead. But they wanted to add a secondary building on a 1.2 acre parcel. Very nice, very high-end steel building. And that's what we're in the process of doing. Unbeknownst to the owner, the zoning had changed at one point in time from industrial to multifamily 21 units per acre. Unfortunately, we started this process in getting the building permit back in April. We still have not gotten that permit through. And in the 2 days before Christmas, I got notified that, hey, the zoning was incorrect. The process had been in process for several months. And it just got through to me that the zoning was incorrect. So that's the purpose of this, is to change the zoning for that side of the street. Now, if you're familiar with Sutro Street, on the west side of the street are multifamily apartments, lots of apartments. But back in 1976, there were no apartments out there. And I'm sure that property was zoned as agricultural. In order to move over to their zoning, into industrial zoning, we're going to have to go through a process of doing some additional things on that property, which we've agreed to do. We have to put landscaping in. We've got to articulate the building to some degree. It's a very nice, very high-end steel. It's a steel building. It's not a tin shed. So that's the purpose of asking for the change of use. Any questions?
Sutro and Sun Valley. I wish I had a map. I was trying to find this on my map here. Help me.
Do you have the?
So by the old Hug, by the old Hug High School?
No, it's right across, see, look, it's just off of McCarran, North McCarran,
Okay.
okay? And it's about 2 blocks north of North McCarran on Sutro.
For the record, the address.
There's a large temple church on top of the hill that
There's a new storage facility.
yeah, there's storage facility on the east side of this building, and this building backs up to that storage facility.
The address is 3010 Sutro.
Yeah, 3010. Is that it?
So
It's a,
the closest apartments is.
Hotel at the other end of the street. Sorry, right down there to the,
oh, yes, okay, yeah.
and then you have all the residential, it's surrounding. Mavericks is.
Yeah.
All the buildings on the east side of Sutro Street are all commercial.
And then hours of operation of the facility that you're going to be building there?
It's just storage. It's just a storage building. They don't do anything, the existing building that you see here. Right here, this storage building is gonna go right here in this corner.
Thank you. Any questions from the NAB? Seeing none, any from the public? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming, spending time with us tonight. Wish you well.
All right, thank you.
All right, at this point in time, for abbreviating the time that we have remaining here, any board reports or announcements? Seeing none, future agenda items, item E.
Mr. Chair, I do have an update. The request of the board and Councilmember Eber, NV Energy will be coming in February, so let your friends know, but we'll get obviously the agenda posted 3 days before the meeting at 9 a.m. As well as RTC will be coming sometime in March, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head. So those presentations will be coming in the future.
Great, thank you so much. Moving forward, anyone else from the NAB with an agenda item request?
Kelly Orr, for the record, I would like to take some initiative and maybe look at requesting open houses for businesses to come visit.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, and then I'd like to give time for public comment. Anyone in the public have public comment tonight? Seeing none, on Zoom, any public comment?
If you're a member on Zoom and would like to give public comment at this time, I ask that you raise your hand. You use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
All right, at this moment, I'd like to invite motion for adjournment.
Ben Johnson, motion for adjournment.
John White, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Stop.